MuppetVision 3D at Disney's Hollywood Studios has officially closed. It closed about a month ago, and it's been a quick month, but let me tell you folks, I am not ready to say that the ride has closed permanently. I hesitate to say that because of what Disney themselves has said since the ride has closed. They've been coy, they've been shy, and they've been dropping some breadcrumbs that may indicate that MuppetVision may very well not be dead and gone forever. You see, Disney has made it very clear that they fully intend on preserving MuppetVision 3D for generations to come. In fact, they are so confident in this statement that they've actually said it twice. Once they announced the ride was closing, and then another time after the ride closed. First, they said they were exploring creative ways to preserve the attraction, and then after it did close, they said, oh, we're still exploring ways to preserve the attraction. So, I mean, they've reiterated the statement twice, that they plan to preserve the attraction in some way, shape, or form, but they seemingly still don't know how to do that, even though it's been like half a year since that first statement. Now, sure, it's possible that the exploring term there is just a term they're using to sort of hide what they're actually intending to do with MuppetVision 3D because they just don't want to announce it yet. But honestly, knowing Disney, there's a very real chance that they actually legitimately do not know what the heck they're doing here with MuppetVision 3D in the future, right? I mean, we know there was a ton of backlash when MuppetVision was announced to be closing, and ultimately, I think that did catch Disney off guard a bit, which is why they put out these statements saying, hey, guys, don't worry. We have plans for MuppetVision. We're going to save it. We're going to do something with it in the future, even though Disney at this moment in time may not know exactly what that is. But regardless of whether or not Disney knows what they're going to do next with MuppetVision, what we do know is that they have made strides to actually uphold that statement because they have gone ahead and made a big stink about actually maintaining and retaining and putting in storage with love and care the animatronics of MuppetVision 3D. So clearly, they are intending on maintaining those animatronics for some sort of use in the future. What the actual use for those animatronics will be down the line, well, we'll see. But it seems that the Henson family, in particular Brian Henson, seems to have some sort of belief that it could be used for a full-on revival of the show. But before we even think about exploring that possibility, folks, we need to have a dose of reality here. As great as this all sounds, folks, I have to be blunt. There is a very real possibility here where we straight up lose. Where the idea of preserving MuppetVision 3D for generations to come does not involve some grand spectacle, does not involve a new attraction, and simply all it involves is putting the film on Disney+. That is a very real possibility. And that's a very real action that Disney could possibly take as sort of satisfying their contractual agreement to maintain MuppetVision. But here's the thing, folks. There is reason to believe that it's not just Disney+. Sure, maybe the movie will eventually get put on Disney+, but let's be honest, folks. Would they really still be deliberating? Would they really still be exploring what to do next with the film if they were just simply going to slap it on Disney+? They must be thinking of other ways to preserve and maintain this experience. Which, if we're being honest, folks, if we're talking about preserving the MuppetVision experience for generations to come, well, the most obvious way to do that would be to actually bring the ride back into the parks. And it seems based on the massive send-off and the backlash that Disney received for the attraction going away, it does seem like there would be a relatively decent fan base and decent turnout for a return of this attraction, whether it be at Disney's Hollywood Studios or any of the other 3 Walt Disney World parks. But here's where it gets tricky, because sure, that sounds fine and dandy, but the question is, where do you actually put MuppetVision at the Walt Disney World Resort as things stand today? Obviously, its old home is being gobbled up and taken over by Monsters, Inc. So that's not really an option at any point in the near future. And if we're looking at bringing it back to Disney's Hollywood Studios, really there's only one other place that makes sense to bring it back. And in fact, that would be nearby the new Muppets attraction coming to replace Rock and Roller Coaster. It's going to be a straight up retheme of that attraction to put Muppets in place. So it would make sense if you're getting a new Muppets attraction in this park to put MuppetVision right next to it, presumably if it were to return. And guess what, folks? There is actually a rather large theater-sized building that sits right next to Rock and Roller Coaster. It used to be the former home of Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, which just recently closed. So it seems the timing on this is working out perfectly to bring back MuppetVision. What? Oh, right, that's right, folks. This building's already in use for a brand new show, Villains Unhappily Ever After. So I guess that idea of bringing MuppetVision here and creating a new mini Muppets land over in this section of the park, well, that's unfortunately dead and gone. At least in the near term. I suppose it could be 5-10 years from now if they feel that show is not pulling its weight. Well, then, hey, maybe there's a new home for MuppetVision right there, but that cannot be what Disney is banking on here with MuppetVision. Presumably, if they do have a plan either now or sometime in the near future, they cannot be banking on that facility being open anytime soon, because surely they think that that show is going to be successful for years to come. So with that being the case, I really just don't see a future home for MuppetVision in Disney's Hollywood Studios. I just don't see where it could possibly fit in, meaning that we really have no choice but to turn our attention to the other 3 parks for MuppetVision to return in. And I mean, let's just knock off probably the least likely candidate, that being Animal Kingdom. Yes, many of the Muppets are animals, but like, come on, man. We're really stretching things thin if we put MuppetVision in Animal Kingdom. It'd just be a really weird fit. It'd be very odd. It would be very out of place. I just can't imagine how thematically they could get it to work. So I don't think there's any chance that MuppetVision is coming to Animal Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, on the other hand, is also somewhat odd. I'm not really sure where MuppetVision would sort of fit into the big picture here. I'm not sure there's a land where MuppetVision really makes sense to go into in this park. So honestly, as weird as it is, my only thought is that maybe it could replace the Hall of Presidents. I mean, there's a theater for you right there. The Muppets used to be present in Liberty Square with this sort of show that they used to do about America. And of course, the end of MuppetVision 3D features a salute to all nations, but mostly America. So, I mean, I guess it would kind of fit in Liberty Square, but honestly, I think that's a stretch. I don't necessarily think Hall of Presidents is necessarily long for this world, seeing where the Disney company is headed at the moment, but in all honesty, I just don't know if MuppetVision makes sense there, so I'm going to have to take a pass on Magic Kingdom as well for the time being. Meaning that we're only left with EPCOT, which at a first glance you might be thinking, oh, we're cooked. There's no chance you're getting MuppetVision in here either, but honestly, I mean, if we're saying that MuppetVision could replace Hall of Presidents, well, I have to say it could also replace the American Adventure in the America Pavilion of EPCOT for the same reasons we talked about with Hall of Presidents. After all, too, you could go ahead and sort of tie in MuppetVision with the history of Jim Henson and the history of American cinema and American television and all this sort of stuff that could be wrapped up in American culture. But honestly, like, it's a stretch. It's a stretch. I mean, yes, there is the Regal Eagle restaurant, which is right next to the American Adventure in the American Pavilion. So you could say, hey, the Muppets are already there. But again, this is just such a stretch. Like, I am really reaching to put MuppetVision in here. You could also make an argument to put MuppetVision maybe in Future World. Obviously, we've had Dr. Honeydew and Beaker as a walk-around character in Future World. You maybe could theme the entrance to the attraction to be more like Muppet Labs. We also know in Future World there are a lot of abandoned buildings and empty plots of land you could build a theater on. You don't have to replace something to put MuppetVision in here, so maybe there's a chance, but again, I feel like we're really stretching to fit MuppetVision in here. So, is there a way to bring MuppetVision back to Walt Disney World? Absolutely. But, I mean, is it likely? I would probably say no. And it pains me to say that, but there just isn't really a good spot for it, especially when you consider the fact that this is not like Disney's building a brand new ride. This is them resurrecting an old ride, not necessarily even improving it, but literally bringing it back exactly how it was, one for one. That's not necessarily going to bring in a ton of crowds. We know that there's going to be Muppet fans who are going to turn up in droves, but it's not going to necessarily entice your average guest. So if Disney's going to bring this attraction back, best believe it has to make sense from a financial perspective. It cannot be too costly for them. And if we're talking about erecting a brand new building, expanding a park, or replacing an actually beloved attraction, that is not something that Disney's going to do in favor of MuppetVision 3D. It's just not. But that being said, I do still think there is a way for MuppetVision 3D to return in full force to the Disney parks. Just not in Orlando, not at Walt Disney World, but instead at Disneyland. More specifically, at Disney's California Adventure, with my idea being that it would replace PhilharMagic in the Hollywood land. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with PhilharMagic, as it is a show and attraction that does exist over in Disney World in the Magic Kingdom in Fantasyland, but you may notice I did not say that MuppetVision could replace PhilharMagic in Magic Kingdom. Well, for one, I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's in Fantasyland. And two, honestly, PhilharMagic is pretty popular and pretty successful over in Magic Kingdom. Really, it's honestly an attraction that Disney loves, right? Because not only does it feature the Mickey and Friends characters in a major way, which very few attractions do, but it also has a compilation of all these other major animated films from the studio, which they love, and they can even update the attraction like they did for Coco in adding new films to the movie whenever they see fit, essentially making it an evergreen attraction. And yet, here I am saying that they're going to get rid of it over in Disney's California Adventure. Why would they do that? Well, folks, in California Adventure, PhilharMagic was added as an afterthought, right? PhilharMagic was mainly an attraction built for the Magic Kingdom. They built a theater specifically for that attraction there. Whereas PhilharMagic, and you may not know this, replaced MuppetVision 3D in California Adventure. That is literally the building that MuppetVision 3D used to sit in that park. And best believe, if you've seen PhilharMagic in California Adventure, well, then you know right away that this was not a theater designed for PhilharMagic. The way that PhilharMagic is set up in the Magic Kingdom, right, it extends onto the sidewalls. It's a huge, wide screen, and there's a ton of stuff going on with projections and lighting and all these different effects that ultimately are not present in the California Adventure version. Yeah, it's widescreen, but it's shrunk because the screen is not designed for PhilharMagic. It's not expanded onto the side walls in the same way it is in Magic Kingdom. The reason being is because they're using the MuppetVision Theater for this show. It is clear and obvious that this show is not being displayed in its full format. To anybody watching, whether you're a general public or you're a diehard theme park fan, you know that this show is clearly not being displayed in its full format. And this is evident by the fact that PhilharMagic is not a particularly popular attraction at California Adventure. In fact, even on hot summer days when guests are trying to avoid the sun and are trying to get some AC, you still won't even see the show at full capacity. And if you want to talk about cheap and easy for Disney, I mean, at the bottom line is putting MuppetVision 3D back in the home that it used to be in a theater that's already designed for it is just easy money. I mean, it's going to be so simple. It's going to be so cheap for them to do. It just seems like an easy win for Disney to put it in here. And here's the other thing too, if you're worried about Disneyland Forward possibly interfering with these plans, it really seems like PhilharMagic, or at least the building PhilharMagic, is not going to get gobbled up by Disneyland Forward projects. It will not be gobbled up by presumably Avatar, which will be taking out much of Hollywood land behind it, but instead it will be left there, presumably available for MuppetVision to go ahead and take over. But let's also not forget that MuppetVision closed in Orlando. That was where the big hubbub was made about it closing, not necessarily in Disneyland, not necessarily on the West Coast. Not to say that MuppetVision wouldn't have success over there, but I do wonder if it would have the same returns for Disney than if they opened it on the East Coast. So I do wonder if that's even something they're thinking about, even though it would be really easy and it would be relatively cheap for Disney to do that. I do wonder if that's something that they actually are looking to do, considering that the backlash primarily came from the Orlando market. It's certainly a possibility, but it's something I would take with a grain of salt, because Disney may be dead set on bringing the experience back to Orlando. But if we said that there's really not a good opportunity to bring it back to the parks, where could they possibly bring it back to? Well, some people have speculated that it could be brought back to Disney Springs, of all places, perhaps even as a permanent resident in one of the movie theaters over at the AMC there. Now, I'm sure AMC would probably hate that, so I'm not really sure that that actually would happen, but is there possibly that MuppetVision could be brought back to Disney Springs in some way? Maybe they erect a new building for it. Maybe it's not necessarily taking over some land that the AMC is currently using, but could it possibly be put there as sort of a general admission? Maybe you pay for it, maybe you don't, sort of experience. Honestly, I would say no, because if it's free, it doesn't make sense for Disney. Disney, you gotta remember, everything they do nowadays has to deliver some sort of direct revenue. It cannot be an indirect value add. That's not something that Disney's interested in doing anymore. So you can't have MuppetVision 3D for free in Disney Springs. And then charging for an attraction kind of goes against Disney's whole business model. So it'd be very weird if they started doing that and having a pay per ride sort of experience like MuppetVision in Disney Springs. It's very different, like paying for like the hot air balloon, right? It's very different. So I don't know if Disney would really want to get into that game. It kind of cheapens the experience in a sense and puts a dollar value on an attraction. I don't think that's something that Disney wants to do. So if we're saying that Disney Springs is not necessarily an option, if we're saying the parks maybe don't happen, well then what else could you possibly do with MuppetVision that isn't just residing it to the digital world of Disney Plus? Well, I think there's one last option to maybe consider, and that's perhaps taking this show on the road. Is it possible that Disney, in seeing what Universal is doing with all their regional experiences with Horror Unleashed and the Universal Kids Resort, is it possible they could look to maybe answer in a sort of unique and special way by saying, hey, limited time engagement, MuppetVision 3D is back in a city near you, and it's playing for only a limited amount of time. Bring out the animatronics, bring out the live actors, maybe add some other things to the experience, maybe even add some specialty drinks, some food to the experience, make it a full-fledged couple-hour-long experience so it's not just the 15-minute show and the 5 to 10-minute long pre-show. You also have a ton of other stuff that goes along with it, and you can make a full-fledged Muppet-themed experience that celebrates this attraction and brings it back for those who want it, and instead of having them come out to Orlando or to California to go see it, you bring the experience to them. I mean, in all honesty, folks, before I even started talking about this, I thought this was a stupid idea. I was like, there's no way they're going to bring it on the road. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, you know what? That could actually work. I might be onto something there, Disney. You're welcome. But there is another way that this show can be taken on the road. Maybe not necessarily with a regional themed entertainment experience, but perhaps it becomes a rotating museum exhibit, right? You play the show sort of on loop inside of a museum, maybe even use their IMAX screen if they have it, and then you put all the animatronics and whatnot, and the sets and the costumes, you put them on display in the museum. You have fun interactive experiences and exhibits in there. That could also work too, and I mean, honestly, for me, that probably would be the most disappointing revival, but it'd be better than just being on Disney Plus for sure. But even though some possibilities are more likely than others, there are still a ton of different options for Disney to bring back MuppetVision in some way, shape, or form and stick to their word of preserving the experience for generations to come. The question is, what will it be? Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and hey, if you are interested to hear about another attraction returning to Disney World, Stitch's Great Escape in this case, believe it or not, I'm fully convinced it's coming back. I know, I'm crazy, but go ahead and click the video screen right now to see more of how that could be a reality. And with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.